All he knows is that he hates Putin. That's a given. Now, you got to hear him talking about kissing Michelle, and I could ask you again, was this an appropriate thing to say at a meeting that is of such momentous importance? Listen to this absurd, pathetic statement by Mr. Obama.
To the French people for the hospitality they've always shown me. And when they welcomed Michelle and our daughters on their first visit to the City of Lights. By my bed in the residence is a picture of me and Michelle in Luxembourg Gardens, kissing.
Titter, titter. The press corps, like the children, school children, kissing. What an embarrassing nation. Recalling his memory of kissing Michelle in Paris. Is that appropriate on a day like today? Of course not. Then you got Rubio, the ice cream man. An idiot? I never saw anything like this. He makes Obama look like an Einstein. Rubio makes Obama look like Albert Einstein. I never saw anything like this. How could the Republicans get a fool like this and offer him up as an option? You got to listen to this. Listen to moron. Where does he say that NATO should attack Russia? In one of them, 7 or 8. I don't know which one is the worst of them. But moron Rubio actually came out and gloating, saying that if Russia does anything, NATO should act. Here it is. Listen to clip 8. This is the ice cream man cometh.
And this is a critical moment, because if Russia believes that they can respond and retaliate against Turkey because NATO is not going to do anything about it, what they are basically doing is they are making the argument that NATO is no longer viable, that it is a feckless alliance. And so it's important for us to be very clear that we will respond and defend Turkey if they come under assault from the Russians. Otherwise, the entire NATO alliance comes into question.
That's the end of Rubio. Can any Republican listening to this show tell me that this clown is of the right mentality, the right IQ? Let's say IQ. I'll use an old thing. Does he have the IQ to be president? This guy, I wouldn't hire this guy to be my personal assistant. If I were trying to hire a personal assistant, I would say, what do you think about what's going on there between Russia and Turkey? And he said something like this, I would say, all right, next. Bring the next one in. He wouldn't even be able to go get me coffee. I know he would bungle the order. Or if I told him to get me turkey, talking about turkey, I'd say, get me sliced turkey. Either they'd be too thin or too thick. So after like 5 times, I say, here's the thickness I like. It comes in thin again, so thin you can't separate the slices. I said, look, I can't separate slices of turkey like that, Marco. I want thick slices. The next time he comes back, each slice is 1/4 inch thick. That's the kind of guy he is. No understanding of anything you say to him. This is the best the Republicans can do. And what's amazing to me is that Sheldon Adelson, a smart boy, believe me, a smart boy, owns Las Vegas, the casinos, oy vey. Adelson likes him. And Larry Ellison likes him. Owns Silicon Valley and the Oracle Stadium. So what do these billionaires know that I don't know? They know that the fool will do whatever they want him to do. They know that the fool will open the borders up and give them all the maids they need for the hotels without papers, maids without papers. And the other one will get all of the IT workers for half the price that he has to pay an American worker. Doesn't matter if you have a 400-foot yacht and then a 300-foot yacht and a 100-foot tender. It's nice to be rich. That way you can have more money and buy bigger yachts and let the country go to you-know-where. That's all. The bottom line. And so when you have rogue billionaires like this, who have no loyalty to a nation, what you usually have is a government that controls them. Because we all know that human greed is limitless, so you usually have a government that controls human greed. But when you have a government that's greedier than greedy billionaires, then you have Barack Obama. And on that pleasant note, a quick break.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust to protect my wealth. Call 800-BUYCO. It is the Savage Nation. It's hour number 3. It's a horrible, wild day out there. I mean, would you believe you'd wake up to Turkey shooting down a Russian jet? In the midst of all the Russian successes. It means the jealous sorority creatures was so angry at Putin for trumping the thin smoking man, that they had to smoke him any way they could, so they got one of his planes, using Turkey as a slingshot, because we don't have the nerve to go after Russia ourselves, and it would be too obvious to the world. I mean, I'm sure our pilots could easily take down a Russian jet, and I'm not so sure of it, but pretty sure that our pilots are the best in the world. But God forbid we'd ever have to use them against Russia. It'd be the day I would break out in hives if that ever happened. But it could happen, because I don't know which side the military is on anymore. I know that he purged most of the combat generals, most recently 2 weeks ago, an African-American of great dignity, of great loyalty, of great standing, an African-American general who commanded 2 helicopter brigades in war. He himself was a helicopter pilot. Could you believe? And Obama threw him out of the military because of he had an affair with someone, according to them. This is what the sorority does. Just as in Stalin's time, they smear their enemies, and instead of putting them into the gulag, they marginalize them. They put them on the shelf. So the military today, when you say military, is not the military that you'd like to believe it is. It's the sororities military. The sororities military, which is a rogue military that's out of control. It doesn't know whatever he wants them to do, they'll do. There is no way to compete. There is no way to get a thought through to the sorority. You read the inside track on this, the stories of what goes on. Nobody can believe that the man is this mad in micromanaging the military. It comes out of the White House. Almost everything that the military is able to do comes out of the White House. This is shocking, isn't it? So they had Turkey shoot down a Russian jet claiming it went over their border. Now, even let's say it did go over their border. Let's, for the sake of discussion, say that the Russian jet was on the Syrian-Turkey border in a mountainous region, and it went over into their airspace for a few seconds. Is that justification for shooting down a fighter jet? No, not unless you want to provoke that nation. So we know that Turkey wanted to provoke Russia. That's a given. Because cooler heads would have said, all right, we've warned you, but you're not threatening us. And they wouldn't have shot it down. What they would have done was escorted that plane out of their airspace. By the way, that's international protocol. Not what this dangerous psychopathic sorority told the neo-Ottoman Erdogan's Air Force to do, which is shoot the Russian jet down. Obama gloated over it at the press conference. He gloated over the shoot down. Very much sort of like a Godfather movie. If you listen to it, it's eerie to listen to what a con man he is. This guy is such a con man that he actually thinks he's conning the world, but he's only conning himself. You can fool some of the people some of the time, Barry. Barry, you can fool some of the people all of the time, Barry. But you say you love Lincoln. Lincoln taught us all that you can't fool all of the people all of the time, Barry. And believe me, you're not fooling this man. You're the one who gave the orders. You gave the orders through underlings to shoot that jet down. Why, Barry? Because we all know what you want. You want to punish Putin. You want to teach him a lesson. You want to show him that he's not really the top dog. You were knocked to number 3 of the most powerful in the world. You know that? First time an American president in 50 years was not in the top 2. You were knocked to number 3. Oh, and you're mad. You're mad. Because your ego is so bruised that Putin's number 1 and the German nightmare, whatever her name is. I don't even remember her name. What's her name? Who remembers her name, the one in Germany? Merkel, the worst lady. W-U-R-S-T. The worst lady of Germany, Angela Merkel, invading her own nation. With unbelievable. Who would believe you'd wake up and see Germany invaded by its own leader? Nobody. Nobody could believe this. How could a German leader invade her own nation? Liberalism is a mental disorder. But let's go on. I've tried to teach you that for years. It's fallen on dead ears. Not even deaf ears, dead ears. And don't get me started on ears again. Don't get me started on ears again, because I told you about Obama, and then I noticed something else. My producer, Robert, said, did you notice how big the ice cream man's ears are? I said, who? He said, look at Rubio. A pair on him like Dumbo. I don't know if there's something there or not. I don't know. I'm not into the earology thing. I'm not an earist, and I don't want to be accused of such. Boy, oh boy, what's going to happen tomorrow? WGOW in Tennessee. Gabe, thanks for calling. What's on your mind, Gabe?
I bought your book. I basically think that you're the Paul Revere of modern times. What I've done is I've posted on my Facebook page any of my Facebook friends that will promise to read your book cover to cover and pass it on. I'm buying books and shipping them through Amazon to folks, and I wanted to encourage other listeners to do the same thing, because your Government Zero has got to get out to the populace.
All I can say is thank you. The only difference between me and Paul Revere is that I'm not a silversmith. But thank you very much for that for that compliment. I'm a little tired right now. I've been up since early in the morning agonizing over this. I paced and paced, Gabe, and everyone else. Thanks, Gabe. I paced and paced and paced and paced and paced. I cut and pasted and paced and paced and cut and pasted. And then finally the time came for the show, and here it is. And it got worse after the show began. They attacked in Tunisia. They killed 6 of the president of Tunisia's bodyguards. The Muslims killed, again, Muslims. You know, it's a misnomer in a way. The Islamist is a better phrase, by the way. Because certainly the president of Tunisia is a Muslim, you know. But the thing is, they killed 6 of his guards. They're on the warpath around the world. And here in America, Obama wants us to be on the warpath, not against them so much, but against Russia. Against Russia. God knows what's going to happen by tonight with this lunatic in charge. This is not a sane man who can tone things down. See, I worry about men like this a lot because they have no self-control. And he's liable to do something hysterical. Obama, I mean, not Putin. That's why people are freaking out with World War III as a trend on various social media sites. Anti-tank gun used to shoot down the rescue helicopter was American. What a sad day in American history. John McCain, you should hang your head in shame, McCain.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
I'm very grateful to the French people for the hospitality they've always shown me. And when they welcomed Michelle and our daughters on their first visit to the City of Lights. By my bed in the residence is a picture of me and Michelle in Luxembourg Gardens, kissing.
That's the President of the United States of America with a meeting, a press conference with the President of France after a Russian jet was shot down by the terror-loving state of Turkey. After it was found later in the morning, surely known by the kisser in the White House, I hope that he cleaned the smoke from his breath before kissing his wife in the Luxembourg Gardens, that the rescue helicopter sent by Russia to rescue the brave airmen who were shot out of the sky, the Russian helicopter was shot out of the sky by a U.S.-made anti-tank missile. In fact, if you want to see the markings on the murder weapon used to attack the rescue helicopter, tending to the stricken Russian pilots, to see that it was American, you can see it clearly with your own eyes. Now, I want to ask you a question. What's the difference between ISIS and Obama's armed rebels, the so-called Syrian insurgents? Anyone listening to this show, can you tell me definitively that you can tell me there's a difference between ISIS and Obama's armed rebels? What's the difference? Helicopter searching for the 2 Russian pilots from the Russian bomber down by Turkey. By the way, the Russian jet flew close to its border with Syria. There's no evidence it actually went over the border, and if it did, it was only for a second or two. And on that pretext, Obama's friends in Turkey shot the Russian jet down. You know, this is how World War I started. You do know that. I don't want to be an alarmist here, but everyone's saying, is this the beginning of World War III? Are we being drawn into World War III? And then you have to ask yourself, what is the end game? does the thin smoking psych